Hey everyone, James here from more Tisk Media, and we are back with some more Unreal Engine 5 tutorials. Now, I just wanted to apologize for the hiatus I was on for a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, we had some hardware issues, and my mic decided to stop working. So I had to go and pick up a new mic, and now we are operating with the new Yeti X, which I have to say, not a paid promotion, but I have to say that this is a great mic. Very easy to set up, and the sound quality I'm not disappointed with at all. So, yep, we are back and rock and rolling, and in today's tutorial, we're actually going to be looking at something pretty cool. We're going to be looking at blueprint interfaces. Now, the reason why I find interfaces to be really cool is because the things that you can do with them. You may not find them as cool, but I love these things, and I've been wanting to build up until we got to there, and I feel like now we have enough information behind us, if you've been following along with my tutorial series thus far, that it's time for interfaces. So, first thing we're going to do is open up our project here. I'm just going to close down these windows. Alright, so one thing to note is that we are working out of a brand new project folder. This is not the one that we were using in previous tutorials because I wanted to show you guys how to be able to do this on a fresh folder. So you can do exactly what I'm showing you here without the confusion of any additional information that we might have coded in previous tutorials. Now, the biggest question is, what is a blueprint interface, and when do you use them? Well, very simple answers to those is, the first one is, what is a blueprint interface? It's the ability to take information from one blueprint and bring it into another. And you can do this across multiple blueprints. You never want to do it if you just have, and this is kind of the answer for the second question as well, is you never want to do this if you're just getting information from one blueprint to give it to another. So if you're just having information go between, two blueprints and that's it, it's no more than just those two, you really don't need an interface because you'll end up making 50 of them. However, if you're trying to get information from multiple different blueprints and you want all that information to work together, interfaces are the way to go. So, let's go ahead and set up a very simple one, and we'll show a few different examples of how to be able to use an interface within your game. The first one I want to show you guys is a very simple interaction interface, and it's actually quite easy to set up. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we want to set up our actual interaction interface. So we're going to go to our content browser, right click, go to blueprints, and then blueprint interfaces. And we'll just call this interact. So we'll go ahead, open that up with a double click, and we'll expand the window here. And now you'll see here we'll have a function, and we're going to rename this to interact. And we'll leave it as is. We're not going to change anything in the details section here. We'll come back to the inputs and outputs later on in the video. For right now, we'll keep it just as interact. And we'll go ahead, compile, save, and minimize. Now, go ahead and open up your character blueprint. And for me, that's third person, blueprints, BP third person character. And we're going to go up to the top section here where it says, hide unrelated, find, all that good stuff. But we want to make sure to click on class settings. And now this panel is going to pop up here, so your details panel is going to change. Now under the interfaces section, you'll see an add button. So you're going to click on that, and then type in interact, or whatever you named your interface. Alright, so now we have our implemented interface in our blueprint for our third person character. So we can compile, save. I'm going to bring out the compiler results, bring up the event graph here. Now we're going to have to add in a couple more things. So the first thing that we're going to add in is an input action. So we're going to go to Edit, Project Settings, and then under Engine, go down to Input, Action Mappings, Add Action Mapping, and we're going to go Interact. And now from here we're going to select the key value by pressing this little button here, and then E on our keyboard, so we set the key as E. Perfect, so now that we have our interaction interface, and we have an interact button on our key bindings, now we'll start doing some simple code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click in our character blueprint and go interact. We want to make sure to select the one that says input action events interact. This way we have the pressed released and the key button. Although we don't really need this button, but we want pressed and released. Now what we're going to do is also, just below that, we're going to get another node to help us out. And we're going to go get overlapping actors. And then select class filter, and we're just going to set it to actor. So this way, what we can do is off of pressed for the keybind event, we're going to type in for each loop, and we're going to select on the for each loop with break. I'll bring that back a little bit. And then the get overlapping actors for the output of the array, we're going to plug this into the for each loop with break. So now what we're going to do is off of the array element here, we're going to pull off of this and type in does implement. So we're does implement interface is what we're looking for. So we'll bring that in, and then we'll select our interact interface just like so. So this way our interface is selected as interact. And then we're going to add a branch with B and left click, hook the return value up to the condition, the loop body up to the branch, and boom, just like that. So now basically what we're doing, just to do a quick recap, is we're starting off with the input action interact, so we press our E key, then it's going to go into the for each loop with break, check all of our overlapping actors with any actor type of blueprint, and then just make sure that it does actually have the interface interact. And then once we are sure that that is the case, we're going to pull off of the branch true, and now we're going to add in, or I'm sorry, actually, we're going to pull off of the array element. It's the easiest way to do it. And then we're going to type in interact. And you want to make sure to get interact message. So now if you try to type it in, you might get this. So as you can see here with context sensitive selected, class interact is just this. There's no message option up here, and the target is automatically self. So you can add this in by unchecking the context selected or context sensitive and then interact, and then it'll pop up here with interact message, but the easiest way is just to pull off of the array element. So now what we're going to do is just hook that into the true section of our branch, and now we are good to go. One last thing is we're just going to take off interact, and we're going to plug it into the break section of our loop in the beginning. And we're going to add a couple reroute nodes just to clean this up a little bit. Perfect. So now, just to recap again, so we're getting our whatever actor we're overlapping with whenever we press the E key, taking that array, checking if it implements our interface, and then as long as it does, we'll go ahead and do interact. So now we can just compile and save this. And now we need an object to interact with. So we're going to add in a quick actor to our game. So we're going to right click, go to blueprint class, and again, like I said before, it has to be of an actor type. So, and then we'll just go interactable object BP. And then we'll just go ahead and open this up. And for the object, I'll just add a cube just for time purposes. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that because we're doing this by getting the overlapping actors, we have to make sure we give it to something to overlap with. So this is where we want to make sure to add in a collision of some kind. And I'm going to use, for this purposes, I'm going to use a sphere collision. So we'll take that, and then we'll sphere collision. Keeps defaulting back to the cube. I'll just pull you up. There we go. Get the scale. So now we're just going to make it a little bit bigger, so that way it's larger than the cube. Something like that should be more than enough. Perfect. And the collision by default should be good, but it's always good to double check. So if you go to the sphere, and if it does not say overlap all dynamic and overlapping everything under there, and if it also doesn't say query only, no physics collision, you'll need to make sure to follow these settings. You want to make sure it's overlapping everything, it's set to world dynamic, query only under collision enabled, and the collision preset is set to overlap all dynamic. If you set the preset to this, it should automatically do this, but I just wanted to run through all the settings just to be on the safe side. Alright, so now that we have that set up, we're going to take the event graph of this object, pull it up here, and then just like before, we're going to go to class settings, go to interfaces, and we're going to add our interact interface, just like so. So now we compile, save, and now we can go where under interfaces where it says interact, we're going to double click on this, and this is going to add an event to our graph here. So what we can do now is off of the interact, we'll just do a simple destroy actor and then print string. And then the string will say you killed me. Perfect. So now we'll compile, save, minimize, and we'll drag our object into the world here. I'll put it kind of right in front of the character spawn point there. Now if I click play, I can go up to it, I can jump on it just like any other object in the world, but because we've set this up as an interactable, if I go up to it and press E, it'll disappear, and I see, you killed me, right in the top corner there. So this is a very, very basic interaction setup so that you can use this code, and whatever code you run off of this section is exactly what it's going to do. So you can have a, play an animation, or, get certain information about, whether or not it was a key, or if it was a card, or, certain things like that. You can get all the information here and then just set it in this section. So just makes it a lot easier for you to be able to kind of allow certain things to happen rather than using like a straight overlap event. Because if you tried to use the straight overlap event from the sphere, like the begin overlap, end overlap, it's only going to do it when you start to overlap. But if you're in it and you're just overlapping it, and if you're in the center, it's not going to do anything. You have to make sure to press the E key as second that you cross over this little barrier here, and then it will work. However, if you set it up with just checking to see what we're overlapping with and then run it off of the interact key, it will then just, work just like so. There is a better way to do this. However, it's through a line trace system, and I'm going to be doing a video about line traces. It's actually going to be the next video I put out. So I want to cover that, and then we'll double back to this, and I'll show you guys how to be able to use a line trace system for the interaction and some other cool stuff as well. Alright, so now that we have our interaction set up, let's show you guys how to be able to use a little bit more correlation of information and how to be able to get it displayed up on screen. So like, for example, a health pool. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our interactable object here, and we're going to delete the destroy actor and the print string, and we'll compile and save. We'll minimize this, and now we're going to make another blueprint interface. So what we're going to do is go back, blueprints, blueprint interface, and we're going to get enemy health. Perfect, just like that. And then we're going to open it up, and get health is going to be the function that we name. Alright, so then what we're going to do is we're going to add an output, take it as a boolean integer, and then we're going to name this health. And we'll compile and save. Go back to our interactable object. And then now what we're going to do is go class settings, interact, or under interact, we're going to add the next interface. So we're going to add in the get enemy health interface. Perfect. So now we'll get health. This is going to show up as a function now. So this is exactly what we want. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a quick variable. So we're going to add a variable. We're going to call this health boolean. We'll name it as an integer. And then we're going to go back to the event graph for our interactable object, and we're going to do some quick code. So on event interact, we're going to get and set. We want to get both. Alright, so what we're going to do is connect the event interact up to the setter for the health node. And then from the getter node that we have for the health, we'll pull off, do a subtract. We'll subtract 25. Then we'll set the default value as 50. So health 50. So it's going to start off as 50, subtract 25, and then set the new health amount. So every time we interact, it's going to set this health amount. But now we want to make it so that way it'll take that health and we'll be able to display it on screen. So we're going to take health, drag it in, get, and put it in like so. And then now we're going to go back to BP third person character, and we're going to add the get health interface into this one as well. So get enemy health. Boom. Just like that. And then we go to our interfaces, and then we'll actually just do this first. Get health message. Just like that. And then we'll pull off our array element, and we'll plug that into the get health section as well. And then we're going to pull off of the get health, and for right now we'll just set it as a print string. Normally you would set this up through a widget of some kind, but we'll just set this up through a quick print string so I can show you guys how this works. And then we'll set the print string up as the breakpoint, just like so. Alright, so to just give a quick rundown, what we have set up now is we're doing the same thing that we did before. We're getting our overlapping actors, running our break, implementing the interaction interface. Awesome. Excuse me. And then we're going on to our branch, doing our interact, and then we're also getting the health. So we're getting the set health information off of this. So it's doing the interact first, and then getting the health, and then taking that health, and it's going to print it in a string on our third-person character's window. So we'll go ahead and click play. So now, if I walk up to this actor, if I hit E once, boom, 25, 0. So let's say if I wanted to do something else here. So let's see, we go set health, branch. Let's see, we'll pull that up a little bit here. We'll add a new boolean here, so we'll add a new variable boolean, and we'll just go dead. We'll drag that in, get, and then we'll take the branch condition, so we'll take our health, get health, drag off, not equal. Take that, so as long as our health is not equal to 0, it won't run the extra code. But once it is equal to 0, we're going to set dead to true. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to pull back from the event interact, run up, get a branch going in between here. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to take dead as our branch condition. So we'll take this, and if dead is false, we'll do the reduction of health, and then just constantly check once our health is equal to 0. If that's true, then we will destroy actor, just like so. So we'll compile, save, play. Oops, play. There we go. So what'll happen is I'll press it, it'll go to 25. And I'll press it again, it'll go to 0, and it'll destroy itself. So this way we're getting the interaction, and then we have another thing that's telling us what that health is for that enemy. And the cool thing is, you know, because we're setting it up with this, the only thing you have to do is, if you have multiple enemies and you want to get that health information stored in some sort of a widget class, you can take this and add a, and just add a widget to it, set it up, and the only thing you have to do in the actual like enemy's blueprint itself is just what we did for, where is it? Oops, there we go. It's just what we did kind of like right here on the get health section. So you're just going to literally take whatever the health is and plug it in. That's all you have to do, because the information is already being created by your attack code or whatever else you have. So it's literally just taking the interface, adding it into your blueprint, and then just hooking up the health to the output. So that's a very simple way to be able to, you know, create some really cool information. Obviously, instead of destroy actor, you know, you would probably do off of event any damage and then, you know, make them play a death animation or whatever you would want to do. But these are a couple of ways that you can use blueprint interfaces. Now, another thing that's really cool, just to show you guys really quickly, is that if you, let's say, you know, you have one blueprint for an interactable object, but you want to scatter it across the world. Now, this works pretty much with anything. You don't necessarily have to use interaction interfaces, but I have found a lot more fluidity and consistency in how they work with the interfaces. So, but if we take our object here, and we're just going to kind of drag it, give it a few different instances in the world, just like so. And now I can go up to it, I can go 1, 2, 25, 0, boom, 25, 0, 25, 0. 25-0. So it's getting the information and then doing it for each individual instance, and that's done through an option. It's set by default, so if you accidentally unselect it, this is just what you would have to do. But if you go up and, where Is it under the default scene root? Yeah, there it is. Enable when inherited. So basically, if you have a parent class, it's so if you go like up here under debug object selected, you're going to see interactable object BP, then 2, 3, and 4. So this just allows you to be able to use different instances when you're using the same blueprint in different areas of the map. But yeah, so that's how you guys can use interfaces, and just like what we did with the get enemy health, all you would really do is just, if you wanted a different output, you can excuse me, you can set it up to any of the options within this. You can set floats up, you can set integers, vector values, rotations. They even have information about, actor values and layers, world items, noise events, AI systems. You can literally hook anything you want into these interfaces and have that be the conditional for operating whatever it is that you're trying to do. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that you never want to have an input and output and then leave one of these blank. If you leave an input blank, it's going to cause an error and it's not going to allow you to continue sometimes. So just make sure that you're only using the information that you can connect into all necessary inputs. Just the one main thing that I would suggest. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that, it kind of went on a little bit of a tangent a couple times, but I just want to make sure to get everything, covered as far as how these interfaces work. But, and again, we're going to be doing line traces in the next video, so if you guys are looking for information on how to be able to do line traces and the different ways that those can work, or if you want to look at how to be able to set up a line trace interaction system, do stay tuned. I'm going to cover that a little bit in the next video, and then, we'll be doing a lot more when it comes to line traces and interfaces as things go. But that's all for today, guys, and as always, stay